It's a fairly new one that I wrote a little while ago, and it's called Not Ashamed, and I'm just going to let it speak for itself. There's something inside my spirit burning so bad I can feel my stomach churning. To the beat of my heart, I wonder why I care so much. So much that I slowly feel my hands start to clutch, as so many thoughts through my head are flowing, praying, hoping, wondering, how can I get through? I see those blank eyes, and I don't even know you. And as you look at me, I wonder if you can see what's hidden beneath the skin of this body that is me. Probably not, so there's something I have to share, and you may or may not sit there in fear, because what I'm about to say, you probably don't want to hear. But I can't help it, I just can't hold in this thing, because deep in my heart, life flows out like a wellspring. It just keeps flowing out of me, thoughts and stories of who I used to be. Not ashamed. Now you may look at me, see the cross around my neck, see the Bible in my purse, and think that I grew up in church. But I tell you, you couldn't be more incorrect. See, any good thoughts I could have had about God were completely wrecked. No, I didn't know anything about God, other than the fact that the Bible was overly flawed. Whenever I saw a church building, I would cringe, just thinking about the hypocrites worshiping within. Worshiping with their hands up high and their IQs down low, with a bunch of bullets all they know. Seeing them skip off to church all dressed in their Sunday best. For Sunday is just one day, but what about all the rest? Whenever I saw the church, I just saw fakeness, wondering why. Why would Sunday be so holy, making every other day a lie, seeing them pop a couple pills on Monday as they drink a bottle of Jack on Tuesday while they have an affair on Wednesday, coming back to beat their child on Thursday as they roll a fat one on Friday, just so they can judge everyone else on Saturday, to say what a good person they are because they go to church on Sunday.
That's good.
These good people were enough to sicken anyone, just backing up my knowledge how you can't trust any religion, seeing as how religion is the main cause of death, war, and killing, talking about love. But the thought of molested altar boys is bone-chilling. Now I see those blank stares turning into a confused look, wondering why I'm saying these things as they slowly make their way to the cross that I wear. Because I'm just like you if you only knew my story. Because everyone has sinned and from God fallen short of the glory. I'm not ashamed. To see what I didn't know is that God hates religion too. Oh, there's a lot about God you'd be surprised if you knew. Like in Colossians, he actually calls them hypocrites because to Christ they don't hold tight. Saying that without Christ controlling your simple self will always be a fight. See, religious traditions a lot of people follow, but lacking a relationship with Christ makes us hollow. And, well, I guess growing up that's what they saw, so they probably think they can. But you can't judge God based on the actions of man. And oh, I used to do this, seeing how corrupt the church could be. But the spiritless church is just an establishment for people's security. And it's a false security as they push people away. The people who need him the most, saying it's not okay. That because of their sin they cannot partake. The thought of discrimination I just couldn't shake. But again, you can't judge God based on the actions of man. Because God actually says the opposite of that discrimination plan. It says that God shows personal favoritism to no man in Galatians 2:6. It's a you're not good enough attitude that he's striving to fix. Because if anyone wasn't good enough, it certainly was me. Promiscuous as the life of the party. Not ashamed. And I used to wonder to myself, as I'm sure you do too, if God is so good, how could such bad things happen to you? And oh, I saw bloodshed at the Columbine shooting, and heard cries on 9/11 from the dust of a falling building. How could a just God let all those people kill? I didn't understand that it wasn't in his will. God hates seeing death, suffering, and killing. He can tell you something, but you've got to be willing. He probably told the terrorists not to bomb, but he couldn't hear him through Satan's directive calm. See, we live in a fallen world because of sin. God can't make anybody do anything. It's got to come from within. Because if he did, he'd be a liar. He said he made us free. So instead we find ourselves blaming God for the world's tragedy. Or maybe the absence of God, that's the easy way out. While Satan's having a free-for-all, laughing all about. Oh, he certainly dance his way around my mind, body, and actions. And so from within I started to feel spiritual contractions. Not ashamed. Now you're wondering why I keep saying I'm not ashamed. Not ashamed of what? Not ashamed of who? Not ashamed of who I was or the things I used to do. Not even ashamed of that morning waking up. Not knowing where I was, head pounding, spirit feeling like an empty cup. Not knowing how I got to the hotel room without my car and my phone. Not ashamed of feeling unbelievably alone. I used to be a little ashamed of who I was and what I did. Mostly because everyone saw me as a successful good kid. Boy, were they wrong. Sick of hiding myself for so long. And then I started to find myself getting scared. Learning there was someone who unconditionally cared. I was ashamed. Ashamed to say in a church I willingly stepped foot, letting my guard down, my identity on the line I put. I hated the church and God didn't exist. Why was I feeling this way? Thought I'd be ashamed until this very day. Ashamed of sex, STDs, Percocet, and alcohol. At the same time, ashamed of going to church, confused, I wanted to fall. Something inside me was changing and fall I did hard. But guess what picked me up? I mean really picked me up, not like some warm and fuzzy greeting card. It wasn't a boy, alcohol, family, or friends. It wasn't even the church on which so many people depend. It was Jesus who picked me up, showing me he was real, despite my hatred actions and how I used to feel. He picked me up and told me it never mattered, said that I was fearfully and wonderfully made, my knowledge was all shattered. He said that I'm a new creation and I was born to be bold, so I'm not ashamed to stand here and tell you the story I told. I'm not ashamed of who I am, knowing that I'm flawed, not ashamed of my past or to say I'm a child of God.